Wake up, God damn it! Welcome to MARKETcast with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
It was good. I think hindsight. I just sometimes I'll just make a comment matches something you're doing, and it's like, well, I should have just done that. And it was the crypto thing,
Yeah,
smalls, and then on my end, the 15-minute trade on Coin MSTR. That was every day. I mean, pretty much. Like so that the follow through there was great, even with Bitcoin kind of. I guess you could call it consolidating. I mean, this is a pretty decent range, but the stocks are outpacing the pet rock. So we knew that. Oversold smalls. That was a big theme.
yeah. I went in. I went into the week, to be honest with you, trying to get rid of some positions, picking spots, figuring out what to keep, what not
Yeah.
to keep. Um, the only the only thing I was really interested in buying was the Bitcoin plays, and I didn't get a lot of them. But those were more day trades, and then I'm continuing to acquire that free spot in Tilray. Um, I'll say that in here. I don't care. But yeah, I think that longevity is going to be good on that one. Kind of feels like where we were on Fubu last year, where there's a stock that was way too cheap. You know, Fubu at $1 was way too cheap, and Tilray under two just feels that way to me. So yeah, the main focus and really trying to cut some stuff before this week. I got to make some decisions just to get my taxes in line. Um, but other than that, to be honest, it wouldn't have been a bad week to trade a little bit more, but definitely very, very, very light. Good round of golf on Thursday,
Was,
shot at 83. So
the one thing I'll say, a lot of strength in the indices still, and more than I maybe thought.
yeah,
Um, but the one sort of there's a little crack in the dam, and to me it was FedEx earnings, and then to a lesser extent Nike earnings, where it's not so much what the numbers were, but then kind of the narrative around it. And FedEx in particular is often a kind of a barometer um, for the market. So so if a pullback plays out that's sustained, I think you look back and that is kind of the beginning of it to me. But I mean, at the same time, uh, QQQ is just up in the stratosphere. I mean, what is it? What is 3% down from here? It's nothing. So that's kind of the thing I'm talking about. Not a big trend reversal, but definitely just some stock slowing down and pulling back a bit.
yeah, consolidation probably needed in most charts right now. I find that healthy, to be honest with you, when they consolidate. As far as SPY goes, just a little update
Yeah.
where we were at the beginning of the month. You're 471.33, 467.69. What up, Goose? Um, for me on the end of the year, I mean, we need pullback for us to get back inside of our range or hit either of our numbers. Um, so that just kind of shows you the strengths of the month from where we kind of perceived. I like the consolidation right now, to be honest with you, P. It shows a level, gives you a place to kind of put a stop loss on stuff that you are way up on. The trend hasn't changed on much, and from what I see, um, some sectors are hotter than others, especially that Bitcoin. But man, um, I think as we get in the year, we're gonna have to have some big pullbacks, but I don't see that Q1. Um, I don't know what you have because you see
So
more
the
flow reads
I
than me, but from what I'm seeing in your flow, you are getting that you know what's that May, June, July flow, which is on the other side of that. So I'm still kind of
yeah.
confused there.
There's a okay. So there's kind of a gap, right?
Yeah, yeah,
January is a huge day for options. January 19th has been forever, because that was like the big leap day. This is the leap flow that I talked about a year ago. All the tech stuff that we are way past those strikes that they bought. Like those did very well, but like the January flow that's come in over the past over the past couple months is setting up. for more upside, and they've already rolled some of that to March, and bought fresh in March. But then for a lot of stocks, particularly in SAS and some of the semiconductors, there's a kind of a gap there. You don't really get anything picking up much until it's July for them, and it's May for crypto and a couple others. So whales think, from what I can tell, that some kind of pullback of some magnitude is going to happen Q2. That would be my read of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all, I'm 100% a market cycle guy, and I was saying, the September to January. Well, it's January. I gotta back to where I gotta rework the thesis because I can't say January and February,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So that ain't gonna work. I do think I
Right,
kind of
right.
kind of have it figured out what is causing the moves. Um, we're getting just like
Mm-hmm.
the market overworked on the rates going away or getting back to normal. And you've seen it with the sell off ended we had the run up. We got to that Fed meeting, that 9/15 date, and they weren't really hitting towards rate cuts. Then we got all the way into December when we thought the rate cut would be like we were selling off, and they were really really dovish in what they said that we would have cuts in 24. So now we're picking back up again, like, hey, it's just around the corner. I think when we get to about April, May, I mean, I'd have to look at the Fed schedule. That's going to happen again where they come in and say, no, not yet. We got to give it more time. And that will definitely pull this. It's not like it's going to drop like catastrophically down if you look at historically where we are, but we're going to take this overextended away. I'm not a super huge EMA guy, but we're going to get closer to wherever the 50 EMA is. Um, that will be your pullback. And you can see it in the chart already. It happened right here. It happened right here. It was last October also. Um, so yeah. I mean, it's to me, we're overextended and we're setting up for that. It's just when do we go into the start of it?
Absolutely. And the the flow, I so what did I say about SPY flow for months now? All puts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not anymore. So we definitely have something to talk about as far as that goes. Um, okay, so right now SPY is sitting at, what is it?
73.
Yeah, 473.65. So for the weeklies, 475 and 480 are the ones that stand out. Those are the ones that were bought really heavy on Friday, about 10 times their normal volume, almost 30% of the open interest was added Friday. That is, SPY's huge, billions of dollars going back and forth. But that stands out. That's notable. That's something we really have not seen, and it's mostly ask sides. It's like 60% or something. Your retail gamblers, Friday might as well be a leap for them. They don't buy that stuff. They just hit it during the day. So those are like large order, big money accounts doing this. So what I bring that up to say that what really matters about that is if that trade is successful, and really either one of them, 475 or 480, if that trade is successful, what they then do with that, what they roll that to, um, if I start seeing February 490, 495, March 500, that this could kind of set that up. So that's the big thing I'm watching right now.
Yeah, I'm still looking just for the flattening, broadening, more of that. Um, Especially with in
Mhm.
tech like that flatten out, um, and then the
Yeah,
other sectors that are lagging kind of pick it up and spy not do much. I'm looking for that cycle because we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're like 9 weekly bars in of just fuck you green. Um, and it
Well,
looked
if it parks between 475 and 480, that's not really a massive move anyway this week. But
what's
yeah,
what's down, but um, expected to you right now. What level would that be?
460.
Okay. Would you?
So it's like the January 19th
Yeah,
460 sold puts. That's the big one there.
yeah. 457.70 would kind of be my spot. Um,
The other one
but I don't think
is
that happens.
is March 450.
Yeah.
So it's March 450, and that's on the ask side. So that's the one that could push it down. But it does. It just doesn't. It doesn't have like a huge amount of volume right now. But I mean, you call it a starter, I guess, or something. It's about $400. Um, Definitely an interesting one.
Interesting. What was up Wednesday? What happened to this thing Wednesday? I read a little bit about it, but um,
Um,
that sell
oh,
off
with
with
the drop.
yeah,
Yeah.
with some
So
big
that
position
was
and
is mechanical. Like I mean Goose had
yeah, yeah,
a good take on it, but like however you want to say whatever they were doing to the energy that was kind of like holding levels and propping it up, they they pulled the rug on it. Overused term, but applicable in this case because the support was artificial, all option driven. The market makers just flip side. They like like turn heel in wrestling. Like the guy turns into a bad guy, and he abruptly, and they did it, and then it was over, and then they sort of rebuilt the old positions, and it worked its way. It worked its way back up. So why that happens? Some big some big money people off sides want to reposition. But yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't news driven. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
just purely a market mechanic thing, and it can catch you. It can catch you off guard. And if you're in options, you got to be um, really careful. I will say that if you're watching charts and you learn to recognize one of those events, that is when you can make money on the short expiration stuff. I don't. I mean, I think people can do it, but the 1 or 2 day expiration, or you got zero DTE to try to do that every day. I don't think you're going to come out ahead. But if you just wait for the moments when it's actually good, that was an example where contracts go 500% in 15 minutes, and you don't even have to be early. They just it just keeps selling off.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it was. I was looking chart. I don't really pay attention to SPY, so I was trying to find the chart that affected it, and I couldn't. Like I said, I couldn't find anything. So it was just an interesting situation. Um, Pretty much mute though. Now that we've 2 days later, just kind of retraced. It's very interesting. Um, Bitcoin. Want a Bitcoin or some boring stuff? Get some of that in here.
Yeah, yeah. So Bitcoin is um, setting up to go higher. Is kind of what I think. It's just it's held up really well. That drop to that kind of 41 area, got bought right back up. Kind of a higher low, consolidating around that recent high. The ETF news is going to drop between now and the middle of January, so probably in January, and that potentially could be a sell the news kind of thing. But you're just going to see big volatility for that. Individual names, I think on a lot of these charts, we're at a point where you can't really judge them just by what Bitcoin's doing.
Sure.
Some of them are outpacing it because of where they are in the chart. There's got to kind of a gap or a clean space. Most of them sold way the hell off, and they're just back. So coin is in that zone. We talked about numbers there. MSTR, same thing. In particular, the crypto smalls, a lot of them missed out on
The
a
first one.
big move. Yeah, so like they were just they're just way down. The flow is outlandishly high on a lot of that stuff. Hive, Wolf, names like that. So that's still a big read for us, and I think there's a lot more gas in the tank there. Other boring stuff. Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah,
crypto?
yeah.
How are you looking
I
at? Yeah.
read I read a little article. I just wanted to make sure to get it on record here, because it kind of felt NFT-ish to me. But there's only so, especially with Bitcoin, it was a Bitcoin related. There's only so many Bitcoins that there can only be so many ETFs, and they're already pushing that limit. And I think it wasn't a lot. It was only like 65, I think, because they have to have so much Bitcoin to make the ETF work. Like that's how the ETF would work, right? Like you own Bitcoin or you own, I don't know. It just seems like they're going to run out of Bitcoin with the amount of people that wanted to make ETFs. And yeah, it just felt like the SEC's legalized NFT at this point in time, because I mean that's what all the shit coins basically are just places to spend your Bitcoin. And this just seems like the first legal Ponzi scheme with that involved. But it was an interesting read and angle that there can only be so many ETFs. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. The chart in itself, I think we're almost to a detached spot, P. Like Bitcoin's consolidating, the charts aren't. The smalls are going to catch up. If we get a pop, the smalls are going to be so good. I would do more of a day trade on the bigger names, but I mean, you should be well ahead on your Mara and your coins and your
Yeah.
riots and your MSTRs at this point in time.
I yeah, so a couple of things on that. So coin, I put in my notes I think 3 times this week, and I said you're gonna get one red candle early, and
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what happened. I mean, it's just like a lot of times it'll go up 2% pre-market. It sells most of that off, but then it's right back up, and it finishes up 5% on the day. MSTR, similar kind of thing. MSTR's chart will kind of stay quiet and then just jump dramatically, which is it's what you want with options, but you just don't want to get caught in that where in a weekly when it's quiet, because the premium starts to bleed out. So
How
that
about
one I mentioned 550. That was the spot because it's like 620 a week later.
what's your Bitcoin number for that to be $1,000 stock? I'm just curious if you got that in your head.
Uh,
50,
between
55, 60?
55 and 60,
Okay.
yeah, but
Is
between
that
55 and 60.
okay?
But 50 could do it because of actually one thing that you said about the ETFs.
Yeah, yeah.
From a certain respect, owning MSTR, they own,
They are
like,
an ETF.
cold storage, whatever. Like, they own a shitload of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
so much that they can't sell it without it would tank the price of it. So they're in for the long haul, and you want Bitcoin exposure. That one would probably be the one, because coin, the issue there. Well, first of all, if you want coin long term, you should have a better average than the price it's at now. It goes without saying, given how long we've been
Pink
we've been
average.
on that.
Pink or better. Pink
Um,
or better. Pink or
yeah.
better.
But yeah, I mean, their coin's more susceptible to news and lawsuits and court rulings and stuff like that. MSTR is a unprofitable software company that owns a shitload of Bitcoin. They're not going to really have the same big downside catalyst. They're just going to move with the coin. I'm pessimistic on that long term impact of these ETFs. I've traded silver long enough to know how this goes. It's not going to be catastrophic, but there's going to be a lot of price control going on, and you're just not going to get the same kind of range that people are used to with that. If they deny some ETFs, that's a whole nother story. So so that's a That's a big one. The best trade on it is the run up to that news, and then I think we probably sell off pretty hard.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, especially on the smaller ones. I mean, we kind of on record with Square, PayPal, and Hood being the ones you want long run if you really want to be a
Oh yeah,
long-term
yeah.
investor.
And this is a real old thesis. Before this room, we talked about services.
Yeah.
Like that's the future, not mining. So yeah, that'll be the thing, and it'll be those big names that you mentioned.
I'm still waiting for company coins, to be honest. I think that's where it's going to go, at least as an intermittent. What I mean by that is like you get rewards now, right? Like, your McDonald's and Domino's
Yeah.
points or whatever. I think those just go to coins for everybody in the long run. How they incorporate them together, though. I just think that's how you get it into society. Different topic, though.
I I will say, well, and one real quick thing
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
crypto, Bitcoin, whatever. Sending money internationally, like, is the thing that is has a lot of. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Still, it's fees and whatever. And like I worked in a convenience store. People buying those international phone cards and shit like that. So doing things internationally like can be a pain. And while it is part of crypto's the criticism for as far as like crime goes, the ability to just for it not to matter where someone is located in the world and just send them Bitcoin. Um, that's advantageous, and I think that it is kind of a benefit to it. But governments don't like competition, so that's kind of the flip side of that. Um, it's easy, but they could put roadblocks against it in the future.
No, no, they definitely want their hand in the cookie jar. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Um,
Got any boring stuff? I had a
all right.
lot of boring stuff
Other
on my
boring.
list this
Yeah.
week. So I was curious. I mean, that's kind of what I was looking at in general. So I'm curious
Uh,
on what you think. And
Copper thesis looks good. So this copper was like 362 or so. When I said this, I said we're fine 350. If it doesn't break down. Never really even tested that. So we're in this channel in copper futures, and the move to 4 um, being this high right now, a lot of that the stocks are actually oversold uh, compared to where we are. Like I would expect FCX to be $48 right now. It's 42. Um, and then SCCO, that's the one that already did take off. Good,
what stock is
good
that?
read there. Yeah. So that one is that one's kind of I think showing you maybe what a lot of these metal stocks are going to do. So, and it's not just copper. This has been a thing I've said for a long time that copper leads the way, for the other ones. Cenex looks very healthy. Easily could get
More? Yeah.
16 to 18. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, I think so. So yeah, I really like those to continue. Um, Silver is definitely worth watching, and then gold. A lot of smalls are way the hell oversold, with gold being $2,070. So I'm. It's not a sure thing that they just pop up and go crazy, but it's definitely a time to take a look at the flow. CDE, Sand, names like that, and I am seeing some stuff there.
Yeah, I had a few blanketed. I mean, you've seen it obviously. What about
Yeah.
aluminum? I mean, aluminum looks. I'm just looking at futures. A big hop there on aluminum, 4%.
Uh, yeah, it broke through my level. My level's 203.05. So we're at a spot where this could go to like 220, 230. And you look at AA. AA is kind of like you haven't really seen anything yet. AA $48.50. That's where I'd expect that to go.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that's me anticipating. That's me anticipating flow. I think it's probably going to come in. It's probably going to be March or May, 48C. That'll be
40,
the one I'm looking for.
4650, sir. Next level on the chart.
Oh
Um,
yeah, right.
these are the best ones, I think, especially the ones that, I mean, it's tough to buy red all the time, but I mean, we were on this in the 20, 24, 25, but um, these ones have the best. Some of these have the best range. They really, really, really do. And you just kind of seen it with steel, like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happens with steel. I know there's a lot of news going around that industry in general with the X stuff, but I mean, I think these are going to be the safer ones. As tech is falling, and I guess we've seen this in our first year of our relationship. As tech is falling, it was oil, and I think you're going to see that kind of again as tech kind of pulls back a little bit, perceived falling. We're going to see something in the metals, materials, mining kind of step up.
And the KALU,
Yeah,
like $80, $82, like that. That's another one that jumps out. A lot of charts like that. The benefit there on the option side, 3 months out, 6 months out, they're cheap and they move well. So I think it's a good foundation for an options trader who doesn't want to just start over every day, is to start looking there.
I, well, let me make a comment on the metal and material before I get into that. We'll hop into that side. What would your top three be going into the year? Like aluminum, gold, silver, oil, zinc, fucking wood pellets. I don't know, but just on the boring side, what
my
would be your top three be?
yeah, my sectors. It's still uranium is one,
Really?
and then uh, copper, aluminum. Actually, I put those two together because they just they're kind of paired, and then oil.
Interesting.
Those would be the three.
So from a chart standpoint, it's miners, silver, and then copper, aluminum. From a
Mm-hmm.
chart standpoint. But
Yeah,
in my head, I really do like uranium, aluminum, and miners. That would be it for me. So that's interesting. Little Christmas presents for the free crowd today. I like it. I like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So what popped in Unk's head there? I didn't want to say that before I asked that question, but I'll say it now. Is if you start off first of all, starting off trading options, you're an idiot. So we got to work with that. We got to just work with that right away. I'm adamant, and I need to say it more because everyone hasn't been with us for the whole journey. But if you don't got like 5K, bro, just find 4 or 5 things you believe in. Buy them like a monthly bill and get your ass back to work. Come back in a few years, you'll be all right. We can maybe start swing trading a little bit. But if you got a little bit of money and you're looking for a place to invest, daily, weekly options aren't it. It's not it. You need slower moving stuff. And a lot of you guys are taking one step forward, 2 steps back. And I would rather you just take baby steps forward. And that's what you're going to find in these metals and material plays, especially the one that Professor finds. Because the option flow, it's undeniable where it's going to go. And it's not, as he
Yeah.
says, noisy. It's not a noisy
They don't
read.
they don't hide, and they don't hide, and they can't hide if they even if they wanted to, because they don't have enough. Well, okay, so here's how I would explain it. Like, they, on the high volume stuff, Tesla as an example, they pass the same contracts back and forth so much throughout the day that it'll just make you dizzy in terms of what is going on, bid side, ask side, whatever. So that's why if you want to trade Tesla, you wait for the levels that we talk about. We call the top 280 was a good example, and we call the bottom 220. I think what's yours is like the 160s, or something like that,
Tesla,
whatever it is.
184.
So
184.
yeah, right, exactly. So so we got pivots there. We can read that. The flow, once it gets near that pivot, starts to get some clarity, but in between it, no, you can't really read that. But with Cenex or Kalu or any of those, they don't have enough partners to trade with to pass those options back and forth and to muddy the waters. So it's just like, this fund, this whoever, we're buying this, it's at this strike because of, the volume there, or, what we think or know that this is going to do, or the news that's going to hit, or, whatever it is. Like, they can't, they buy what they're going to buy, and they have no mechanism to really hide it other than multi-leg trades, and sometimes they don't even really bother with that.
Yeah, what P said to me,
Because
just
what's the incentive to? I mean, you're not
yo,
gonna
sure.
you're gonna try to bag retail on selling Cenex options. They don't even know what it is. So, so they're, you don't have those saps who are gonna be buying that stuff.
For me, I try to know my intelligence, and I gave up the flow stuff. When you figure out like where the money's at, it's real hard to decipher what the money is doing, and that's really what sets Professor apart. So you got to trust in people, and it's not like buy this here. It's just like the level is here for me. So like what he said, totally flipping foreign. It's real hard. I mean, it's you're talking to a genius, for lack of better terms, when it comes to that stuff. What stands out for me is just the levels, like the days and the amounts that I get from my source, which is Professor. But Tesla is a great example from my side. What I do, let's just say we're gambling in a casino here, right? And these are the bets on where the wheel's gonna stop. It's real hard to tell where the wheel's gonna stop. You can kind of see money consolidated here, right? Right. We got some money from 250 to 220, but other than that, real hard to see where the money is consolidated at. Come over here to Kahlua. This one we just talked about. Real easy to see where the money's at. It's a totally different ball game, and that's it in a nutshell. Most of the money's here. AA is probably an even better one because it's more historical. But yeah, where's the money at? Money's at 28. It's overwhelmingly you can tell where the money's at. Tell where the money's at. And that for me, finding those safer setups, safer levels is just much easier to trade than something like Tesla's not fair because I trade Tesla. Than like Apple or Microsoft, because again, the moves are going to be smaller, the range isn't there, and the levels aren't established. You have people in this Alcoa company that probably have shares, from when they've worked there, and they're just never going to get rid of them, and that in itself creates a lot of support. Um, yeah. So volume profile to me kind of shows you what is tradable. I don't get why people trade options on Teslas when stuff like this is available. I really don't.
I think they want a piece of the sexy name stocks. That's kind of the only thing I can really think of there.
I ain't said that
Yeah,
one in
quick
a
example
while.
on.
You're gonna have to get the Macy's tattoo. It's the compromise, bud.
Yeah, right. The yeah, and the stuff like Microsoft. I was pounding the table on that around 320. It's 374 now. But the difference between me and like a lot of options people, they're gonna put Microsoft on a watch list almost every day, and they'll have like, here's your call trigger and here's your put trigger. That's hard to trade. I mean, look at what Microsoft has done since, well, really all the whole month of December.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just not on the option side. It's not a lot of great trades there. So you're late. Something's got to change. Got to break out at 380. That'd be one thing. Um, Maybe you could play it to test that, but yeah, you're amplifying your risk for a diminishing return. Not a good place to be on the option side.
Yeah, and that's another good chart, especially for what I do on the volume profile side. I mean, I just don't see how you pick the best level here. It's very hard to decipher where the best
Yeah.
level is. The guys that do trade, I'll snitch on those guys. They guys that do trade, they just go locally. They'll use, you know, this is 20 day. They probably use a little more than 20 day. They don't use a year though. But then they'll just use these levels and hope they stick. Um, Really hard to do on those bigger names. Um, in my
Or
opinion.
their watch list has triggers that are so outlandish that it's just never going to happen, and then they trade something else and just be like, "Oh, I caught this move at the last minute." Yeah, I've seen that play out a lot with those Twitter guys. So,
For
and there's
me,
also,
there
by the way, less of those options watch list people now because they all got destroyed.
have you. I don't think you were on Twitter much this weekend, but there's been a lot of like end of the year Christmas testimonials, and a lot of these guys
Mhm.
did not do well this year. The way they
Yeah,
sold their story and the way their account looks, two totally different things. Even the best of them. I said a couple weeks ago, if you didn't make 30% this year on your account, like just fire your fruit. It's not working out. It's not working. And even if it's us, like if you didn't make 30% this year, just find something else because it's not working for you. That's the minimum you should have got, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but um, yeah, I mean that's not a big bump if you're a guy with $1,000 or $2,000 account. You should have made $600 this year, but if you didn't, like find someone else to follow. It's just not working for you.
I mean, I think most of them they reset every month, and not in a good way. It's just like uh, the new small account challenge because that's all they have left. That's kind of what most of them are doing. And there's a kind of psychology to it, gambler's fallacy, or whatever, where a lot of these guys think they're closer than they are, um, as they keep hammering this and trying to do it. And it's options. The big downside of options is like you're left with nothing, and that can happen easily. And shares aren't like that. Very rarely are there shares where you're left with nothing, unless you just watched AMC go down. But you're still not left with nothing. But you're left with not as much. but yeah, that's that's rare for that to happen. But options expire every day, and most options expire worthless. So
Yeah, no, especially if that's what you're playing. Uh, Weeklies and
yeah,
dailies. I mean, that's what you're setting yourself up for. Um, no, no. I hope
yeah,
I posted on Twitter. I'm hoping, and I'm seeing it because you get it in their theses for next year with their end of the year thesis. A lot more shares. You know, the retrospective. Oh shit! If I would have just traded shares, is hitting a lot of people in the face. Um, I kind of devil's advocate. I think you're kind of crazy if you have people paying you $200 a month or $150 a month and you're not investing that wisely. That's just like a double stupidity dip for me. Like, or at least half of it, right? Like, makes no
yeah.
sense to just YOLO your whole entire, McDonald's check or whatever and your subs all into options every day and then sports betting on the weekend. Like, I don't get that. Wisen up.
Uh, yeah, yeah. It's and so in the sports betting too. I uh, I grew up, and my grandfather would have some guy come by and take bets on horses or like football games, and it was just it was who's going to win this game by how many points. That was it. That's not even how they bet now. It's like, is the backup tight end for the Panthers going to catch 3.5 passes over or under, and then they parlay it with five other players, and and that's what they do. I I'm confused on how anyone could have an edge doing that. I mean, maybe stat analytics or something will tell you, but man, that's all foreign to me.
Yeah, no, they're kind of like ODTs. They expire that day too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, there's
It's
no.
kind of sets you up for
It's
like
a
being
zero
okay
sum
with that.
game.
It sets you up. I never thought about that, but sports betting kind of something a trader shouldn't do because it sets you up for being okay with a zero sum outcome. Like you're desensitizing
Yeah,
yourself to that. I can either win it all or nothing. Like you're just okay with that. That's how you play, and that's not okay in this field. I mean, I guess you have to sports bet that way. There's not really a way to. I guess you could hedge your bet, but um, yeah, no, that I never thought of that, but that makes a lot of
My big
sense.
criticism, my big criticism of those kind of gamblers, and I think like poker is different. I think you can get skilled at poker. I think there's clearly that can happen. Um, Maybe sports betting you can too, but regardless, if these guys, I'm like, okay, so you're serious about this. This is what you want to do. You don't want to get a job. You want to be a gambler. Why aren't you living in Las Vegas? Why aren't you living
Hmm.
in Reno or something? No, you're rolling out of bed at noon. You're getting on your cell phone with your battery at 3%, and you're just going to YOLO all day every day. So you're not professionalizing. I'm kind of big on that. Like, you want to do something, you're gonna professionalize. If not, you're just a kid. You're not serious. So, 90% of Twitter people are like that, or probably more.
Yeah, that and the no time off really get me. Like, um,
Yeah.
it's as soon as the Friday market hits, they're right into the parlays or into the coins. It's just a go, go,
Right.
go, go. I mean, I like the ambition, but I don't like the direction of the ambition. Um, Kind of ended on a positive note. There are some good ones out there, but every good one I see, P, is super one dimensional. Like they trade one way
Yeah.
only. Not necessarily the one stock, but they look for one thing and they trade that edge. Um, I still don't think they have as good as batting average as us because um, just we have more checks, but they're not horrible traders. Um, the
Yeah.
problem is that
That's definitely true.
if you're following those guys, we touched on this last week. If you're following those guys and they're doing 7 or 8, you're gonna do 6 or 5, right? Like that's just how it out of 10. That's just how it is. You can't do better than the person you're following. Um, it's almost impossible.
Some of the better traders that I know on Twitter don't even they don't try to be big shot callers,
Yeah.
but they can spot the bullshit in a lot of these other guys, and that's actually how I met some of them on Twitter. It's just like they're kind of calling out some of the BS that they see from some of these other dudes, because that tells me they know how hard it is, and they know how you have to actually take it seriously to be consistent, and that you're not going to be the next Michael Burry and call a market collapse every week, and that's what some of them try to do. And what I can't figure out is why so many of these dudes are bears over the past 2 months or the year, really, but it's particularly since October. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're just assuming it has to go down, I guess, and they're trying to catch that reversal.
Yeah, I don't. I always revert back to the time in the market and what they've seen since they've been in the market has just been dramatic moves that way, and that seems normal to them.
Yeah.
Like 19 on is just normal. I mean, we're on that chart. Yeah, just this here has just been normal to them. These big pullbacks, and they're expecting another one. And yeah, no, I think a lot of people wasted about 2 years being a bear. Um, when we started, I'm
Absolutely.
sure I was the old guy with the cane. They trade shares, and I'm slowly coming around. Like people are
Yeah.
slowly coming around to like, wait, maybe he's on to something. And I know in the long run they'll be like, man, if I would have just listened to that guy when I first fucking started, I would probably be in a good spot. Um, there's a reasons I've never traded options. I mean, and there's reasons I don't trade options. And I think it becomes clear to people when they get 4, 5, 6 years down the road. Um, or they have any amount of capital and they give themselves some time and they just compare the two. Because really, you just can't, like you're saying, you can't really go to zero. I mean, you can lose some money, you can waste a lot of time, but zero is not it.
No, you're gonna have a chance to make some decisions. Okay, I'm down 15% on these shares. Am I going to buy more, or you know, just call it good here. I guess losing big money on shares happens when people buy all the way down. Um, they get addicted to averaging down. So that is where the big ugly losses happen on shares with the meme stock people. Bios can get you a couple other things, but I put on before X ever made this move that it has. I wrote on Twitter, I'm like, I never met anyone who went broke trading X, and part of that is just because it's pretty stable stock to trade, but the other part of it is the big risk takers would never even think to trade X. They try to convince me you can't. Like that was like what
Yeah,
happened
yeah,
there. So,
yeah. No, that was a great
but
wait and retweet. That was a really good one.
yeah, yeah.
For
Yeah, he's
me,
like, you can't predict a buyout, and I'm like, well, this is the second one,
um,
so
when you said
I
X,
guess
I
we
really
can.
thought Twitter first thing, like
Oh
when
yeah.
Twitter was a
Mhm.
stock, and no, when Twitter got the buyout news and the price was like above it because we had to wait till October. Um, we both suggested just buying it because the buyout price was more. It's only going to be like 10 or 15%. At the time, we were in a very bear market, so but just taking that return on your money, that versus the hope of I don't know, insert whatever's in people's head here. That's the battle that needs to be won. Is like I can just fill my
Yeah.
cup, and I say it. I can just fill my cup, rob Wall Street, whatever metaphor you want to use from Unc. Instead of like buying a whole house with a trade, or I don't know, a car, making every trade have to be a car payment or something like that. Just filling your cup over and over again, and um, you'll just do better than trying to grind day in and day out. Um, that's a good one. Like a little, and we'll probably end it on this in this conversation right here. But when we first started, we used to go back, and I was like, I like to swing trade a little bit, and you were like, I'm a day trader. I got to trade every day. That's what a day trader does. What's your overall mentality on that now?
My so my overall approach is I'd like to spend the early part of the day selling more than I'm buying. That I have some setups that have worked and that have continued, and I'm just I'm moving out of them. I do still I look for trades early in the day. I do trade every day, but I try to be done as quickly as possible, and then I don't look to trade anymore. I look to read, to study. Maybe I have something in mind, for the end of the day, but I just want to kind of get out and protect. That's my play more defense than offense. That's my whole thing these days.
So would you say more of I like to research every day? Would that be more?
Yeah, I want to be engaged. I'm engaged, get engaged in the market every day. Um, I do have some setups in mind, um, but no, I mean, like, okay, so when we first started going to the day, planning for, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have four, $500 option trades, and that's what I'm gonna go into the day. I'm gonna find four trades. I'm gonna make four trades, and like I'm gonna do that. I don't. I think you work against yourself when you're that rigid about your planning. So I look for two or three setups that I like, and then I pick which one to do. Usually by the sector that is the strongest. It was crypto lately, and I'll do some 15-minute trades there. But honestly, not even those $500 positions. Usually, I go a little smaller, and try to take some risk off the table. My bigger positions are leaps. I had like 4 grand in MSTR leaps. Cash that out for significantly more than that. It just bought, pay. You want time, you're going to have to pay for it. And so
Yeah.
I've sort of realized that, and there's just so much that can go against you on those short expiration options that I think you gotta go as small as you can. That's still a plausible strike if you want to trade those. So yeah, that's pretty much where I am.
Interesting. So definitely less is more. You figured that part out.
Oh, I trade about 20% as much as I used to.
Interesting.
Like I was in it all day. So yeah, but I do better.
But you
I
do
do
better
better
now.
now than I did then.
Better batting
Oh
average,
yeah,
better,
yeah.
better ratio. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Good, good. No, that's
Um,
good for everybody to kind of because the over trade. The problem with when you do kind of figure out a style is over trading can really slow you down. Um, like you're hopeful
yeah,
and you're
and I
pumped
think.
that you figured something out and you want to apply it, but
Mhm.
over applying it is never a good thing.
So I'm a big baseball guy, and here's how I would put it on the option side. So if you're a big risk taking options trader, and you're gonna hit 300, hitting 300 is gonna put you in the Hall of Fame in baseball. But if in your hitting 300, you hit a single, and then you get on base. But the other two times that you went up to bat, you hit into a double play, you lose the game for your team. Like so, if the ones you miss on are catastrophic, you can't make it up with the one hit that you got. If your wins are huge, it makes up for all the losses. But it's very hard to sustain that. There's too much chance. Wednesday happens where the market just sells off like crazy. It just kills
Mm.
your whole week or your whole month. You can't put yourself in that position.
Yeah, no option seems well. Short term option seems like you go into the plate with a 1-1 count anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're already there.
You're in the 2 minute drill in football. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good to see you kind of not be stubborn in those aspects. Because I remember when I don't know if it was last year or year
Yeah, yeah,
before, to be honest with you, but when you said it, I was like, that's gonna change. That's gonna have to change. Like
yeah.
it's just gonna have to change somewhere along the line. And I hear you um, saying it with just the share comments in general, so I can tell you're pivoting in general because of how the water moves.
Well, look
Um,
look at on Wednesday, coincidentally or what? I mean, I only had two notes
yeah,
because I just looked and I was like, there's not a lot of good stuff here. Something's not something's not great today. I didn't know it was going to sell off like that, but I'm just like, this isn't, and I'm not gonna force it. I only want to try to get the. I think well, option side, some of it's B plus. I mean, it's not all A plus, but I'm not just gonna. I got to get 5 or 6 notes up here every day. I'm not gonna be like that. And you trade long enough. Some days are better than others for trading. So you can't just
yeah.
go to the market every day when it's open and say I'm going to try to do the same thing every day. I'm going to try to make a bunch of money every day. It's hard to do that.
The only thing I do every day is I read news at 4:30. I look for volume at 6:30. I'm West Coast.
Yeah,
I look for volume at 6:30, and I look
yeah,
for
yeah.
I look for bloody ass charts at about 7:38. That's the only things I do every day. Like that's to be real. I do that. I mean, those are consistently things I do, but that just tells me what we're doing. That's probably the best market direction advice I can give anybody. Find news in the morning, find volume when it opens, look for the bloody charts that didn't deserve it a couple hours in the day. Secondary moves are safer. There you go.
Say secondary moves. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, 100%. 100%. Um, no, no, and last thing I'll say before we get out here, I just picked up on a lot of those little things like that you've been saying. More shares, take your time. Um, I'm I want to use our work. Like I want to get the most out of our work. Stuff like that's coming out. So I can see those little changes in you, and I'm kind of hopeful for where it's headed because um, I like to stay on stuff, and as soon as I can get you to stay on stuff a little bit longer, I think the room and both of us do a lot better. So you like to research everything, right? Um, kind of all encompassing, and some of them you're like, damn, if we could have just stayed there, if we just stayed on Mara all year,
Yeah,
would have
that's
been
kind of how
great.
the hot list has been. We've caught it a few weeks where it's like oh we got two of this sector, is that too many? And it's like, no, we should just put them all on there.
Yeah,
Because it really, we should put 5 crypto stocks on it, because that's what stands out. That's what's better. So you don't have to diversify as much when you've got a winner, and we've been better about that. I think that will continue.
yeah. I mean, we come a long way from the 50 list weekly list, right? I mean, we got it down to 10. We still have the 30
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
back, but it's down to 10 now. And then the 3 day of notes from you has been great. And yeah, no, less is more. I'm with it.
yeah.
You got anything else before we get out of here, P? I know it's holiday here, so.
Did we pick spy levels?
Oh yeah, shit. Let's do that real
Did we
quick.
set our numbers?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pick 467.69 at the bottom because that's my level I picked a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I'm sticking to it. Call that unk conviction. God, how far? Oh, that's
Yeah.
only $6 away. That's possible. That's totally possible, Pete. Um, what about top though? Top 76. 70, 75, 99. I think we have sideways week. Sideways
Four,
week. Sideways week for me. That's what I got.
475.89 was mine. It's sitting here. I mean, I wish I could timestamp it, but yeah, it's sitting here on my post-it note. So I'm close to you there. And then
Are you taking your
468
71.33?
12.
68.12?
Yeah, 468 12.
Okay, so you're not Mr. Conviction with your 471.33 end of the year number.
No,
A
no.
little bit of a dip. God, I'm curious if
Yeah.
one of those hit though. Sideways for you? Sideways for you too?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no earnings. People. I mean, so all my corporate friends, they're all kind of like in it can wait to next year mode. For next week.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
think the market's kind of like that too. Just just cleaning up some loose ends, not looking to make a big dramatic push anywhere. Isolated sectors might, solar stuff like that, but yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I kind of touched on that and read the room. Like, you don't have to trade every week. Oops, I just killed that. You don't have to trade every week and stay active in the market. Next week's a good week to kind of clean up your shit, get ready for the first of the year. So, um, awesome.
yeah.
Well, have a good holiday. I'll be around. Sure you'll be around as well. And yeah, good stuff this year, P. Count looks good over here.
Uh, yeah, yeah, pretty good. So yeah, I'll touch base with you this week, and we'll go from there.
All right, have a good one.
You too.